and mocked him.
He's an animal. I wish for him to have a long, suffering, cruel death.
He's gonna go to hell, and that's where he belongs.
Sometimes the greatest monsters wear the clothes of a simple worker, a family man, a friendly neighbor. They smile, they shake hands, and no one suspects that, in the darkness of night, they become someone entirely different. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of a man who became known as the Green River Killer, Gary Leon Ridgway. Ridgway was born in 1949 Utah and grew up in what seemed like an ordinary family. But his childhood was full of warning signs. He had a low IQ and struggled in school. Classmates recalled that, from the beginning, there was something off about him. Later, he would admit that as a teenager, he once stabbed a younger classmate simply because he was curious to know what killing a person would feel like. After high school, Ridgway joined the Navy and was stationed in the Philippines for a time. There, he first encountered sex workers, and from that point on, his anger and obsession toward women, especially those involved in prostitution, only deepened. When he returned to the U.S., he got a steady job, got married, and built a seemingly normal life. But inside him, something dark and dangerous was growing. In 1982, Seattle police faced a horrifying discovery. The body of a young woman was found along the Green River. Just days later, 3 more bodies were discovered in the same area. Most of the victims were young women who had run away from home or worked on the streets. The method of killing was almost always the same: strangulation by rope or bare hands. After killing them, the murderer would leave the bodies in remote locations, often near water or deep in the woods. Sometimes several bodies would be placed together, as if he wanted the police to find them. Seattle became a city wrapped in fear. Women avoided going out at night. Sex workers stopped working in groups or left the streets altogether. The news reported new bodies almost every week. People kept asking, "Who is this monster?" And the police were trapped in a cat and mouse game where the killer was always one step ahead. In 1983, the police identified Gary Ridgway as a suspect. He was the last person seen with some of the victims. They brought him in for questioning and even gave him a polygraph test. The result? He passed. Ridgway calmly denied everything, his face expressionless. Without enough evidence, the police let him go. It was one of the biggest mistakes of the case. Over the following years, the murders went on. Ridgway would pick up his victims in his truck, often luring them with the promise of money or help. Then, he'd drive them to secluded spots and strangle them. Sometimes, he would return to the bodies days later to have sex with them again. He later said he did this because it was easier. They didn't fight back. By the late 1992, the case had grown cold, but advances in DNA technology gave police a new chance. Evidence collected back in the 1982 was tested again. In 2001, the results were clear. DNA from 4 victims matched Gary Ridgway. That December, officers walked into his workplace in broad daylight and arrested him. The news exploded. The quiet neighbor, the polite co-worker, was the infamous serial killer. In interrogation, Ridgway said, "I hated prostitutes and I needed them. Killing them was easier than buying a cup of coffee." He confessed to 49 murders, but investigators believe the real number may be over 70. To avoid the death penalty, he cooperated with police, leading them to the hidden remains of many victims' places that had kept their secrets for decades. Today, Gary Ridgway spends the rest of his life in prison. He will never be free. But his story remains a chilling reminder. Sometimes, the most dangerous creatures don't hide in the shadows. They live among us, in plain sight.
and mocked him.
He's an animal. I wish for him to have a long, suffering, cruel death.
He's gonna go to hell, and that's where he belongs.
But then the emotionless facade finally cracked when the father of one of his victims appeared to surprise him with a dose of human kindness.
Mr. Ridgway, there are people here that hate you. I'm not one of them. You've made it difficult to live up to what I believe, and that is what God says to do, and that's to forgive. You are forgiven, sir.